All right, I would like to thank everyone for coming today. Today I'll be presenting, I'm actually working with two others, Dr. Apa and Dr. Dia, on this presentation on morpho-semantics of superlatives, augmentatives, and pseudo-augmentative constructions in Akan. And I am the one who is here, so that's their way of voting me as presenter for today. So briefly, the structure of the presentation, I'll give a brief introduction to the topic, a little bit about augmentatives and superlatives, expressing augmentation in Akan, the augmentative marker. In Akan, there is one dedicated marker, pseudo-augmentative constructions in Akan, and then give a brief typology of augmentative, pseudo-augmentative, and then also the superlative that we have. By way of introduction, diminutives and augmentatives may be used for similar functions, and we see this from various scholars. And about 1/3 of the languages of the world can do without any morphological instruments. They can just use quantifiers, things of that nature, in order to express an augmentation. It can be a sound symbolic strategy as well. And this is one thing that we see in Akan, so you can have something like nima, as in kotonima or penima, things like that. Also low open vowels for augmentative formation of pong, so there can be some level of iconicity even in terms of the sounds that are used to express something small and something large. So what are augmentatives according to Dahl? These are words formed by derivational processes that add a semantic element having to do with size or meaning of the word. So usually they are grammaticalized from other words in the language that may have something to do with bigness, things of that nature, size. Thus, augmentatives may be words or derived from words that refer to entities that are considered the biggest. Now, in the case of biggest, that's where we're dealing with superlatives. When we're talking about augmentatives, really in the essence of the word, you're talking about augmenting something, making it bigger, but superlative is once it's reached that highest point. Augmentatives may connote negative values such as contempt or threat, big mouth, or positive values such as endearment, compassion, big buttocks, big brains. Depending on culturally who you are, big buttocks can be a very, very good thing. Now, superlatives, looking at basically a dictionary definition of the highest quality or degree, a superlative piece of skill, expressing the highest or very high degree of quality, the bravest, most fiercely, things of that nature, and we'll look at how that is done in Akan. So what we propose as the Akan augmentative marker, there's a dedicated productive marker for augmentation that is pong, and we'll see that on bepong, things of that nature. So we have an example of bopong and obrempong, and there's a proverb in Kosi, which is that the bush cow says, if the elephant is not around or not in the nation, then it would be the great creature, meaning in this sense, it's actually more of a superlative usage, the greatest of all creatures. So it may be there, but it is not of the highest order. Now, potential sources of the augmentative suffix, there is the name opong, and you can hear names like opong kesi or opong chichiku. So the praise name chichiku, huge, big, may indicate the source of the augmentative suffix pong, that which is huge. Christalla also records pong pong, the highest pitch or degree. A seminal, and I said, I don't know how to pong pong, the matter, the sickness has reached its highest point, and it is much more difficult to reduce or cure than it was in the beginning. Auto pong pong or pong pongso, that matters have come to extremities, it's reached the highest point, and it's basically similar to a pentenso. And then there's also apong pong pe, that's thought to come from that same apong pong, which we see here. Vain pomp, glory, haughtiness, arrogance, puffed up, you think that you're the biggest, and all of those go to this idea of pong as being that which is huge, that which is big. Now, briefly, the Akan pseudo-augmentative markers. We have Ejuma song. So Ejuma is work, and then song is coming from ultimately a sono, which is an elephant. And then Ejuma, then you have this chenye, which is to exceed, and cheng, and that's coming from cheng, to exceed. that was the introduction. Let's actually look at several other examples we gave before: obopon, obrepon, nantupon, apropon. That all of these are coming with that pon to give you the idea of this is either just a huge one or the hugest, the largest. Mampon, onyonkopon, osuapon, sukupon. That again, all of these are further examples, and it really shows how productive it is. Ohempon, kwapon, bipon, achampon, achampon. So all of these are actually coming from, actually the toponyms are coming from a database of Ghana place names, and all of these you'll find, if you just drive around, you'll find towns that have this pon on it, and it's letting you know. There's a plant called achampon, which is derived from the name. Odupon, so if someone says something like Odupon tutu, they're saying that a great tree, a huge tree has fallen. And Odupon tutu a bofresinenem, so this is a proverb that if a great tree falls, then you'll get a pawpaw in its place. Obosompon, dampon, daponna. Now all of these give examples of Timpon or Timpon, Sapon as a name, and then the month name, Opepon. Now, and again, all of those show how productive it is. You can basically add pon to any of those elements to make it either a big thing or the biggest thing. Now, speakers may also express the idea of augmentation through compounding one of two words, such as osono or chang, to exceed, so ejumason. Now, what's interesting about this is that there's some type of change that goes on where it's not ejumasono or entokwasono, that is going to be entokwason and ejumason, ejumachinye and tokwachinye. So this is the idea of a daunting task or a formidable battle. So these seem to exist in some type of complementary distribution with nouns that take pon, where son and chinye collocate with those nouns that are the inherent complements of verbs such as ye, ejuma, or kon and tokwa. Thus the pseudo-augmentatives in the above example seem to have some latent adverbial function in expressing the manner in which something is done or the nature of the task. So here we're presenting the idea that this song is developing into a complementary augmentative morpheme. So pong is already that type of augmentative morpheme, but it's looking like song, because it's also something that's huge, is also developing in some of these specific cases. So in the Asante dialect, for example, this is what I just alluded to, the word is realized as osono, with a prefix and a final back high vowel. However, when it occurs, there's a marker of augmentation. Neither the prefix nor the final vowel can occur. So ejumasono is either unacceptable or at least awkward for speakers, but ejumason, a daunting task, is acceptable. Now, the goal of augmentation is again to show the referent is big beyond a certain standard, so superlatives are also of that same type, and we have this superlative type of idea in osono chinyabwa, that there's no animal behind the elephant, meaning that this is as high as you can go. This is actually a picture that I took a couple weeks ago with my sister at Mole National Park of an elephant. Now, we have these others that also may be in that same vein of pseudo-augmentative markers, or getting towards that way. So we ask the question, is this pure noun-adjective compounding, or is this pseudo-augmentative suffixation? So for example, a noun such as intamkese, a great reminiscent, or the great reminiscential oath, or tikese. There's someone who presents on Peace FM called Kwame Nkrumah Tikese, right? So it's looking like, all right, this isn't fully just serving an adjectival function. It's become part of this, and it may develop into a suffix in that same way. So we can note that pon is likely originally an adjective connoting large size. Interestingly, similar to the case of song and Asante, the adjective use would be kesye, but when it appears as a suffix, it becomes kese. Asem kese. Jibya Kese, and this is a toponym again from that database of Ghana place names. Nkwanta Kese, again, place names, Asu Kese, even some of these places that are in Asante speaking places, that is not just giving you an adjective to say, oh, this is Asu Kese, like a huge river. This is how it's come there. Also, Mankesim and Kwamankese, again, looking at toponyms. Other potential pseudo-augmentatives for consideration, dong, so you can have something like nipadong or nkwadong to refer to body part systems. So basically, human army or limb army to give you an idea of a large group. Other methods for augmentation can be complete or partial duplication and or reduplication, such as atintin. So I had a friend who was critiquing these women who are walking around with all these high heels. She said, "Oh, atintin." So she was saying about how high these heels are. Kese. So kese is already big, but now you can augment that size. Tre, you can say ostro tre, bye. Wawai. Ichiri, titi. Right? And then there can also be augmentation without dedicated markers. So at the beginning we mentioned that some languages don't have any type of suffix or morphological way of marking augmentation, but it can be done by other words. So you can use something in Chi like dorsal to explain how much or how augmented the size has become. Bibri, ye, chenina, or sinina, simbibia, or chembibia, or pi, or pa. So all of these things can be done without any type of suffixation to augment the size or let it be known that this is the highest degree or the largest order. So basically, by way of a typology of Akan superlative, augmentative, and pseudo-augmentative constructions, for superlative and augmentative types, what we see is that the prototypical one, pong, can be used superlatively in the case of obopong, as we saw in the proverb, or augmentatively as obrempong. So within a nation, you can have all these men who are considered to be obrempong, and it's a status, so that one isn't superlative in that sense, but all of these are big, pseudo-superlative or pseudo-augmentative types such as song and chenie. And then also pseudo-superlative augmentative methods. You can have methods of augmenting the size or showing that it's the higher size through complete or partial duplication or reduplication, and also through the use of augmenting or superlativizing quantifiers or elements. So in conclusion, Edamase, and this is actually a picture of myself, Dr. Dria and Dr. Apa. I'll let you guess who is who. All right, thank you. Edamase.
Thank you. Comments from the floor, questions, contributions. Yes. Let's present the first class.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't think I actually have a question to ask, but I find the presentation very interesting. As an Akan myself, I haven't given thought to a lot of the things you have mentioned, and for some reason, it is very useful to me in the area I have started looking at in Swahili, and it gives me a lot of food for thoughts. So thank you.
We may bring you on as a fourth elephant too.
I think so.
You need another elephant.
We need another elephant.
Semantics, right? The meaning kind of, and if we can provide a little bit of context why you put it in that sentence. If you do that, some of the semantic analysis will become clear. There are a couple of them I don't agree with how the meaning is, but if the three of you sit together and you put things in sentence forms, it will help you.
Can you repeat the question and your answer?
So the point was made, and this will actually come if we put it in sentential form, then it would actually go further than maybe looking at dictionary definitions or things of that nature. in order to get the meanings of what the individual ones are. And that's definitely going to come out in the paper, that anytime we're going to make an argument that this is what this is, you actually have to show it in the sentential context, in order to actually tease these things out. So basically the question was going into adding context, otherwise there can be debates about whether this word is actually this or that. Appreciate that contribution.
So obviously not a linguist myself. My question is, are the superlatives things that can be added to any word, or were the examples that you were giving for specific words that are already created?
All of these were actually attested items. So again, we looked at a database of place names for toponyms, just dictionary entries, things of that nature. For Pong, it's pretty productive and it can be added to different things. However, I was asking Dr. Dria and Dr. Apa, and this was something that was interesting. I said, all right, so we have Ejuma Sono, Ejuma Tinye. I said, can you say Ejuma Pong? And they were like, no, that's bad for us. So that's where we're starting to see, all right, there are certain ones that may collocate with specific words, and that will, in the course of actually putting them into sentences and trying them out, we'll see how productive they are, and if they actually, if there's some level of what's called complementary distribution. This one can only occur on these words, and this one can only occur on those words. And that's what we're trying to kind of hinting at, going towards, all right, maybe some of these may have some adverbial function where there has to be a verb latently before you can add like the sono or the chinya yet and juma or kun and tokwa, things like that. But all of that's going to come out in the actual course of the research.
Okay, so thanks for the talk. I'm just wondering about the cassette, whether you've tested it on other Asante Tree speakers, because I'm not so sure about the fact that cassette becomes just cassette when you have it, when it occurs as augmentative, right? So I think I've heard of the Ponkesia to 2 pen. So what do you say about like a situation like the Ponkesia to 2 in terms of, so that is why Dr. Foro was also talking about the fact that you should have that in a sentence and people listen to it. I mean, they could confirm or deny some of this that you are bringing up. Yeah.
Right, so the example you just gave, the kesia, is used as an adjective. That's a pure adjectival usage. For the toponyms, you have the actual names of towns that are tested like Jibyakasi, right? So there is starting to become a suffix, and that's the difference in terms of the use. What you've actually given is a perfect example of what we're discussing here, that when you have an adjective, then it's going to be the full kesia form, but now when it becomes a suffix, then it cuts off. And this isn't, again, me saying these are the names of towns, or the inhabitants of the towns are there, we can go to the town and talk to the owner. But that's the name, so Nkwantakese is the name of the town, Asukese is the name of the town, Jibyakese is the name of the town. But if you want to say, this is a big shade tree, you would say, We Naya Jibyakese. So now you're just using that kesia as an adjective, and it's not a suffix that's attaching onto there. But again, in the course of the research, some of these things will also come out to show.
So basically, you're talking about morphological context and sentential context.
Exactly. That's exactly, and that's what Dr. Forty was hinting at before. So what we're looking at this morphological thing that's going on here. In a sentence, that's where it's an adjective, and then we'll see how it functions as an adjective there. But then once it becomes a morphological element, it grammaticalizes to become a suffix. There's something different that goes on in sono and kese and all of those things.
You still have a question? Thank you very much. That's a couple.
One more question.
Okay, that will be a quick one, I guess.
Yeah, very quick. I think even in the same context, as one can say, I think it has to do with dialect. Because in Ashanti, the best of what I know, in that same context, it's going to be Augmentatives.
That's an adjective.
That's an adjective.
With that same word.
Yeah, but that is an independent word.
Exactly.
It's an independent word. It's not a bound word. Because it's
All right, so this, I think the same point is being reiterated in a different way. So as an adjective is kasiet, and that's what we've seen. But now, when we're looking at as a morphological element, it's now bound to it. Then there's something that goes on here, and we've seen this attested. Now again, we can put it forward, and we definitely will put it forward to various native speakers to see if this actually bears out. But we've seen this in the various cases so far. A very hot topic.
Wow. Okay, a quick one.
Thank you for the presentation. I want to find out whether there are other words, apart from what you presented to us, whether you come across others you haven't mentioned. I was wondering whether you didn't consider idiophones, because there are some idiophonic words that can also show greatness or augmentation. For instance, kokru and konkru and all those ones can also show augmentation. Thank you.
I think that's a suggestion, and we'll definitely add on idiophones. We didn't think of it.
Also, there's something. I did a paper on the semanticization of phonological attributes, and I talk about size. Come on. Yeah, I talk about size. I mean, you may want to maybe find that paper. Where I'm using features, right? Just features, phonological features for something that indicate size.
Okay, we'll definitely find that different. We'll cite you, so you'll go up when you're.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.